Kiss 107.1 is WTLZ Saginaw with Steve Harvey in the morning and simply the best R&B all day. Take us everywhere. Your smartphone, in your car, to work, or live at KissWTLZ.com. We're Kiss 107.1.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of Straight Talk with Kareem Bowen. It is finally here. Someone's probably saying, what are you talking about, Mr. Bowen? What are you talking about? I am talking about the warmer weather. It feels like summer outside just before June gets here. And in true Michigan fashion, we have no in-between time. We just go from some cool, some suspect weather to the real deal, and I'm glad about it. I'm in the studio today with my main man. We got Matthew. I call him White Soul. What's good, Matt?
I'm doing good. How are you doing today?
I am doing well, Matt. Something really funny. Something when last week was Mother's Day, and I had my mother in here, my brother, and she said to you after the show, I anticipated that you were taller and you seem to be a bit thinner. And when she got back home, she goes, I know what it was. I thought you were on United Shades of Grey.
Oh,
I said,
yeah.
no, that's a different white guy. I know we always say that all white folks look alike. No, that's what we joke about. I'm joking. But she was getting you mixed up with John B. I said, nope, that's Matthew. He's new. She goes, oh, I haven't met him before. So I just thought it was interesting when you were given that inquisition and she thought you were taller. You're like, no, I'm not necessarily short. But that's where that came from. So I apologize.
Oh, no problem.
You
no
had
problem.
a look of like, why am I short? And I was like, no, you good, bro. But those that are listening out there, I want to thank you for continually tuning in to KissWTLZ.com as we're listening and having the conversation that we're having today. If you like what you hear and maybe you missed some of it, you can always go back to KissWTLZ.com. Go to the main page and you'll see radio programs. You'll see my lovely face right there. Click on that button and you'll be able to find this show and other shows in podcast form. We want to certainly thank you for tuning in each and every week and making this your number one show in its target market. I certainly am glad that you guys keeping me from being canceled, even though I don't know if I'm going to keep myself from being canceled with some of the things that I say out here. But I want to give a shout out to everybody who is out there. So many amazing things. Saginaw, people often say that there's nothing to do in this city, but I tell you, there's so much going on and so much more that's getting ready to take place. We had the women's wellness event take place this past weekend. There was a prayer breakfast. There was a tea. So whatever you're liking, there was something for you over the course of this past weekend. So salute to all of you who are making great things happen. Our community is only as great as its residents. And I'm telling you, some of you are shining bright. I certainly want to salute you. To my girl, Gloria Williams out there with Platinum Creations. Oh, my God. Gloria, you are doing your thing. Many times when we have events, we want to keep them in the city, or we want to do things that, we want to patronize Black-owned establishments. Gloria, the events that you have been doing over there at Gloria, over at Platinum Creations right there in the Riverview Plaza have been absolutely amazing. Your space is amazing. The video that you posted on your website was absolutely amazing. I watched it a couple of times. The Who's Who of Saginaw was at your event on last night. So if people are looking for spaces, there's Platinum Creations. And I know that my girl, Carla Barton, has something going down over on Hamilton Street. So now we're able to do some things in the city of Saginaw, and you are able to patronize Black-owned businesses. And I think that is a great thing to have. Diversity is always great. We have in the studio with me, I'm not going to take all day talking about what's on my mind, because I got a lot that's on my mind right now, but I'm going to get right to what I want to get to, because I got some phone calls that really perturb me, but I'm going to let those process first before I talk about them on next week. I have in the studio with me Glenn Steffens, and Glenn is here. If you see him in the social media stream, He looks very unassuming, but we've had a couple opportunities to really just kind of talk. And I love what Glenn is talking about. He is it the executive director? What exactly your title?
That's correct. Yep.
The executive director of STARS, that is Saginaw Transport Authority Regional Services. And he's here to talk to us. There's a lot of great stuff that STARS has been doing. And I'll just start. I will get into the conversation. I'll show that for later. But you're here. Welcome, Glenn. Welcome to Straight Talk. We've tried this before, but today we finally connected.
Yeah, it's great. Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it.
All right, so Glenn, you are, and I don't want to. I want to. Why did you come to Saginaw? You're not a native of the area, are you?
No. I grew up in the Pontiac area, southeast Michigan, and I lived in Lansing for a while after that. Actually, I'd never really been in Saginaw other than driving through on 75.
Okay.
Until about 2016 when I started at STARS.
2016. I'm always interested. Folks who come from the bigger cities, and not that Pontiac is a metropolis, but it's a bigger place than city of Saginaw. When you look at coming to Saginaw, you've had some time to be here to learn a little bit about the people, the community, this entire Great Lakes Bay region. What is it that really catches your attention from someone who's from somewhere else coming into the city? What is the thing that you look at and like, wow, this is kind of cool?
I mean, actually, when I got here, I thought that Saginaw is very, very much like Pontiac
Okay.
itself. To me, and I hope nobody takes this as a dig, but Saginaw is kind of like Flint Jr. and Pontiac's kind of like Detroit Jr.
Oh, please don't. No. Yes, that's a dig, bruh.
It's not.
Oh, man down. It's a cold red
grow up in
situation.
Pontiac, you're looking over to Detroit. You're like, oh, it's the bigger city, and we're kind of the smaller one. But at the same time, I mean, there's a good sense of community in these cities, especially when you start having harder times. It really brings people together, and it brings out a positivity,
And all cities that were on that 75 corridor that have all been impacted by the loss of, the auto industry to what it used to be back in its heyday. And so I guess there would be some similarities, but just for future, Saginaw folks don't want to be compared to Flint folks. Okay,
I'm just frame of reference for me.
I got you. In terms of size, y'all see, this is what they think of us from out there, from the big city. They think, oh, y'all baby Flint. Oh, come on. I'm just joking. But we're glad to have you. So you've been here since 2016.
Yep.
And so you are at the helm of the ship for STARS. There's a lot that's been happening with STARS. I want to give you a chance to really just kind of share some of the things that are happening with STARS, and we'll really talk about how you guys have been kicking it into gear with some of your partnerships, your collaborations, and especially what you're doing for Memorial Day, for the Memorial Cup. But what's new at STARS?
What's new? I'd say we've finally positioned ourselves to really have opportunity to grow. We're looking at going countywide here in the next couple of years. We've been talking a lot with county commissioners and saying, what does the future look like? And I was just saying to a bunch of our employees today at a meeting, as we're talking about gearing up for the Cup, it's important that we understand there's like a synchronicity. There's a mutual relationship between the city prospering and then other public services and agencies or businesses like STARS.
Absolutely.
And it's a feedback loop right there. Right. So as one grows, the other one's going to prosper.
You said something that I've been saying for a long time. The township and other areas, even the county, always want to be separate from the city, but there is a connection and a living force that connects the three of us together.
Very much so.
And I say that because when we look at how funding happens in communities, the reason why the county and even in some instances the township receive the dollars that they do for certain state agency programs. I'm saying it's not Glenn, y'all. Just so the village understands, is that they use those statistics of the city, that Alice population, as a part of their dynamic as Saginaw when they get those dollars. And so I think it's important to understand that what happens in the city impacts what happens in the county.
Well, I can point directly to STAR Services as a great example.
Go ahead, preach.
The county prospering on that. Right now, we're only funded by a city millage. And that's 3.2 mils. I believe we're highest in the state, if not one of. And
really?
It generates $1.8 million a year. And it would normally generate a lot more in other areas, but our property values are so low throughout the city that really affects how much we can pull in.
And so that tax cap is really putting you guys in a chokehold.
We aren't really subject to
Not
that.
really,
That's a
not the
different
tax.
issue.
Okay,
Yeah,
different
we
issue.
have a separate
Just the millage that you guys have.
Yep.
Okay.
So we got the millage at 3.2. You won't see us going to increase it because it's, that's pretty high, right?
Yeah.
And we
You said it's the highest in the state of
it
Michigan?
might be.
Okay.
It might very well be. I don't keep track. And I
Okay.
know that they had some others that had to increase these past couple of years because transit's so underfunded. But my point is that, our lift service, for example, covers wherever our fixed routes go. Okay. Our fixed routes go outside of the city because people in the city need to go to grocery stores.
Absolutely.
Great example, right? We don't have grocery stores in the city. The only way that they're going to get to them is using transit to get out there if they don't have a car. So we put bus stops down along that way. Whenever we put bus stops on, it triggers other responsibilities for STARS.
Okay.
Now, anybody within 3/4 mile of that fixed route bus stop, if they're disabled, if they're unable to make it to that bus stop, we have to pick them up with STARS Lift, our dial-a-ride.
Okay.
So that means we've got a stretch of them down Bay. We got a stretch of them down State, and nothing against it. We love to transport people, but we also like to be funded for it. So the townships don't contribute, and we don't get anything from the county.
Okay.
So that means these city millage dollars are paying for service that we have to extend down these corridors. STARS Lift spent about $2.6 million last year.
On what exactly?
Lift, STARS
Wow.
Lift services, our operations, all those trips we've done, those tens of thousands of trips, right? We've got that going for us there. 1.2 million of that 2.6 was for purely Saginaw Township based transportation.
Now, when you talk about STARS Lift, let's be specific because
That is a dial-a-ride.
right, that's dial-a-ride. But even that, some people may not necessarily understand what you're
Okay.
talking about. Sometimes we get into these spaces and we're used to the jargon
We are
and
so used to that.
absolutely. So when we talk about STARS Lift, we talk about dial-a-ride. What exactly are we talking
A
about?
service that services people who are disabled and over 60 years old and otherwise also just can't get out to a bus stop
Okay.
physically. So we, under the law at that point, have to go up and get them from their home and take them directly to where they're going.
So door-to-door service.
Basically.
Wow.
Door-to-door service is the most expensive form of transportation you can have, and it comes automatically when you lay out a bus route. So that means, we're kind of casting this net that's capturing these people who are using the service, and good for them because they can. And we want to see people have affordable transit. But again, we also need to figure out a way that it's properly funded. But I point out this whole example because often people in the townships and out county areas look at a city like Saginaw and say it's a burden on us that we're losing money from the rest of the county into that city. This is a prime example of the city of Saginaw tax residents solely supporting a transit system that benefits the entire metropolitan area.
Wait a minute, Glenn. Now you're preaching. I need you to say that again. Can we turn this mic up just a little bit? Because I want to make sure that folks are hearing this. Now say that again. STARS is an example of
the city residents paying into a tax millage, solely the ones paying into that tax millage that benefits the entire metropolitan Saginaw area.
So city residents are making sure that the entire area is able to get to the grocery store, able to have transportation needs if they do not have transportation that gets them from A to B. So
Very large area, yeah.
Very large area. So what is all included? What does that area encompass? Is it the entire county of Saginaw?
No.
Okay.
So
What is the area?
city proper and some spots in BV and Bridgeport, Bay Road going all the way up to Kochville at
Okay.
SVSU, and State Street going all the way out to the edge of Saginaw Township down by Walmart and Aldi's.
Okay.
And those are, some significant population centers. There's a lot of housing along those corridors.
How can we change that? What can anything be done by the city residents to help include other individuals that are also benefiting from these services that the city is paying for?
First thing to do would be express it to your county commissioners. Let the county, because the first gateway into becoming a countywide authority is the county commission agreeing to become part of the authority.
Okay.
And then after that, the conversation continues. But step one is just to say, we even want it. And I think that we're on a good path towards that.
Towards the county commissioners getting involved in this to make this a countywide situation.
I think that's the most logical outcome.
What do you see as the greatest barrier to that type of situation taking place?
People stuck in the past, not understanding what Saginaw County and the Tri-County region can really become. And I think this Memorial Cup will be a great example. We didn't get the cup because of Saginaw, or just because of Frankenmuth, or just because of Bay City. We got the cup because of the entire region. And hopefully at the end of this cup, everybody looks at it and says, man, we are so much more powerful as a region when we approach it with solidarity, rather than carving ourselves out and saying, who can get a slice of what. And we've got some great leaders in the community, I think, who recognize those things.
Yes.
But I do hope that becomes a more prominent issue as we move forward.
I think what you just said is something that I said. This is actually a rehearsal. Before the big wedding, you always have a rehearsal dinner. And this is really, we're doing a rehearsal, not just for this game, but we're doing a rehearsal for what can be moving forward.
That is a great way of looking at it.
Absolutely. And so this is showing us, hey, this is what we can do. We used to be the Tri-Cities, and I didn't understand why we changed from Tri-Cities. I still have my particular thoughts as I look at, what do you call those people? My conspiracy thoughts. But when we look at it regionally, there is a lot that this area has to offer. The Great Lakes Bay region, when you offer those things up to anyone, it is very, it looks very advantageous. There's a lot of things that we have here when you wrap those things and bundle them together. Now, my question is going to be, so as we look at that, and you talked about looking at the past, I always say that the enemy to a new move is an old move. So as you look at your push to become kind of countywide, and you're having these conversations with commissioners, and I would imagine stakeholders in those communities, what is the biggest issue when you say the old perspective? Is it the fact that they say, hey, we live out here, we have cars, we don't need the buses? Is that what it is?
That's what it comes down to a lot. And it's, when you get down to the debate, it becomes a chicken or the egg kind of thing.
Okay.
Well, of course you don't need transit or plan to use it because it's not available. But let's imagine what life would be like in that situation. Would it make it easier? Economic impact on transit not being in areas. Saginaw is one of the only counties without a county-wide transit system in the state.
Yeah.
Other counties, if grandpa needs to go to the doctor, dad doesn't have to take off of work to take him in. And the business doesn't have to cover dad's position with time and a half coverage, and the dad losing money at home. The economic impact of not having these types of services is strong. And as Saginaw County ages, we're going to see more and more people see the light.
Because one of the things that I think that we have to understand, we got to take in, we are not living in our grandparents' Saginaw. We're not in our grandparents' world altogether. And it was funny because I was having this conversation about how baby boomers, I celebrated with a baby boomer, a great friend of the family, who stayed on their job for 48 and a half years. That would never happen today. You don't see that anymore. Hey, go find a job, go to school, get an education. When you get your degree, go find a company to work with and work with that company. You'll get, retirement and 401k, all of these things, right? And folks stayed on jobs for long periods of time and built those kinds of relationships. And that was an important part of how we operated. Now people want to move out. People don't want to stay with the same company. Why I'm going to stay with this company? Because when this company gets ready to get rid of me, guess what they're going to do? They're going to give me a pink slip and let me go. And if I have to stay by the end of the day, it's a problem for everybody. No, but they leave. We leave companies because there's a better opportunity. We'll leave a company because maybe it pays more, or the benefits are better, or it just gives me a sense of fulfillment. So people are not being stuck in those spaces. And in addition to that, what we're learning is that this Gen Z generation and a lot of millennials, they want to live in populations where they can move around. They like cities, they like urbans, they like living in apartments versus owning home, even though we complain about home ownership. But these are things they want to move to the big cities. They want to move so that they're not stuck in a particular place. Now, so you guys are actually, because one of the biggest issues of any particular situation, I think, is not always just that you have it available, but it's about access to those things.
Yes. And
access often is the bridge that we need to cross in order to get to equity. If there are jobs in certain areas and I don't have a job, or I don't have a vehicle to get there, then that becomes a way to keep me out of the pool that might bring equity to that place that's employing. So some of the greatest, brightest talent can't get to that place because transportation is an issue. Yeah. So as we become regional and you guys are providing services to all over the place, not only can they come to the city, but as we do more things, perfect example, Memorial Cup. There's going to be more people in the downtown area than we've seen in decades.
Than I've ever seen in the time I've been here, for sure.
In decades,
Yeah.
right? I'm probably I'm at that age where I was around when GM was still here and thriving. And so we would have, big events and concerts and things of that nature. But this is something like next worldly for the city of Saginaw in terms of the number of people that are coming in, right? And so when we look at this, I was sharing with somebody and making a joke, Glenn. I said, yeah, I got tickets to go to the Memorial Cup game and I want to come down and just kind of be in the atmosphere, but I don't want to have to deal with parking. So I'm going to get to the nearest shuttle.
Oh, yeah. Tell them to park at the hotels at Tittabawassee Corridor and take a shuttle on down, or else just find the parking garage, downtown in the city, and we've got them covered.
But if you don't want to have to go down to and stand in, I hate lines. I hate waiting.
That's the worst.
It's the worst. I hate trying to find a parking space and then having to find. We can literally park outside on the outskirts.
Yep.
Get on a shuttle and become tourists in our own communities.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so let's, since we're here and we're kind of talking about, let's talk about what changes with the Memorial Cup. What are some of the things that you guys are doing that are kind of like a little bit out of the box and different than what you would normally do as we're preparing for the Memorial Cup?
Well, first, I'll mention a couple goals we had.
Okay, go ahead.
Right, because you got to look at your goals first. And the goals were, we got this big cup coming into town. A lot of residents, in town maybe don't have the access to go to the games. Maybe doesn't have access to transportation, or again, you can't drive your car downtown. There's nowhere to park. There's nowhere to park. 5,000 people here, right?
And parts of it are blocked off for the entertainment effect.
So this thing's happening in our backyard. We need to make sure that our residents can go to it.
Right.
Step 2, we need to make sure that our businesses in Saginaw make as much money as possible.
Absolutely.
Off of these crowds, and how you make money, as you said, is access.
Access.
Transit is access to resources or access to something. And in this case, transit is access for the businesses to their customers. So we need to make sure that we're bringing them their customers and doing our job.
Yes.
So looking at it, from those really 2 key perspectives, how do we go forward with this and how do we meet those goals? Step 1 was our normal fixed route system, operates Monday through Friday and Saturdays. And it closes at 9 Monday through Friday, 9 p.m. and Saturdays at 6 p.m. The games start at 7.
Absolutely.
So if they don't get out till 9:30, 10, what are you going to do? You can't go to the game. So we're extending the route times Monday through Friday until 11 p.m. so that after the game, there's going to be a 10 p.m. departure from the downtown station. So 9:30, 9:45, game rolls out. And if the game rolls out a little late, we'll try to hold them, right?
Right.
We can hold that last departure up to get the people on. And anybody that wants to go home from there in the city, from the game at 10 o'clock, boom, go straight out. Now, if you don't want to go right away, there's other options. I'll get to those. But the fixed route, the regular, our 10 routes,
yes,
7 that run on off-peak times. If you run our system, you know it. Saturdays, we're going to open all day until 11 p.m. as well.
That's crazy.
And for the first time, I think ever, Stars is going to run on Sundays during the Cup. So we're going to run 2 Sundays, and we're going to run from 9 a.m. until 11 p.m. You want to get to your noon church service on Sunday, use the buses for it.
I want to talk about why this is important and why I really wanted him to share the details of that service, because many of you say, I'm not going to go to that cup. But what you need to understand is, even if you don't have tickets, the only thing that's happening inside the Dow Event Center are the games themselves. Mm-hmm. But when we look at the entertainment factor, the great concerts that are coming, they're happening outdoors at the event park. And so the Jody Event Park.
Yeah, just walk up.
When you look at the food truck corridor, it's outdoors. There is outdoor floor hockey for kids ages 6 to 12 outdoors. There is, they're expanding this outdoor, I don't know, I always say outdoor bar space, but where there's places for you to sit and drink and enjoy the weather. And if that's what you like to do, outdoors. So it's not just only hockey, but what they've done, and this is what we've talked about before, Glenn, and I want to say this to all my Saginaw residents. I've been here my entire life. I've sat in city council meetings, I've sat in county meetings, commission meetings, and y'all know I'm telling you what I know. I've had a lot of conversations with folks, but not everyone gets what that means when we talk about equity the way that you get it, Glenn. And so you have been taking on the fight in spaces where other people may not hear you have those conversations. But I've heard you standing up like, listen, we've got to make sure that our residents are able to make money. We've got to make sure that our residents can have access to what's taking place downtown.
It's genuinely important to me.
And it's genuinely important. And I heard that. And even when I came down, that's one of the reasons I came and sat with you to look at your master plan for this entire thing that you were having for the Memorial Cup, because I wanted to see, if this was real. And when I look at the things that you have put in place, and my dear friend Jamie Forbes, the lover, and how you have advocated for our community, and your voice has resonated with other voices, of course, in ways that have kind of, we can't overlook our community because people are advocating for our community. So I want to thank you for being an advocate for our community, but I also want to thank you for these additional routes, because folks who are a part of the Saginaw community, you can come and get pieces of the experiences of the Memorial Cup, even if you don't have tickets. There are so many things that are taking place downtown, outside the Dow Event Center. The streets are going to be blocked off. There's corridors and outdoor spaces with music and entertainment that are taking place.
Throw in the buses are going to be free to ride during these 10 days.
Oh my goodness. And you got free buses.
That's the other important factor, right? If you're going to encourage people to use the system and get to businesses, you need to make it as easy as possible. How do you make it as easy as possible? Walk on.
Well, in big cities, that's what we do. So whenever I was in a big city and there were like, the Jazz Fest or this fest, they would have these shuttles that would go around. You jump on a shuttle, you hop downtown, you go down there, you get something to eat, you hang out in the sun, you talk with folks, you take, because there's bounce houses and all kinds of stuff that's happening all over the place. And even in, Morley Plaza, Lead has some things that are taking place over in Morley Plaza. So, and looking at the system going down Washington, D.C., straight through the heart of the city, including, and I think this is one of the things that you were also advocating, is that we can't let Old Town Saginaw be disconnected. So how do we connect them? Because when that Memorial Cup comes out,
that's one of our biggest assets here.
Yeah.
I mean, as far as any restaurants, seats.
Yes.
Seats for people to sit down and whether they're eating, drinking, or just hanging out, spending their money. And getting those businesses some returns. I look at the city and I see all these great small businesses starting up, and I also see the challenge they have. There's not much foot traffic. And so, we'll look at it and say everything's closed on Mondays or only open a few days a week. And it's easy to criticize, but it's easy to, when you're doing that, to forget the challenges of actually being a business owner in an area where the transit doesn't run frequently enough. It doesn't run late enough. We close at 9. I'm not one to criticize restaurants that normally close at 9 because I'm closing at 9. That's not very fair.
Right.
It's not very equitable either. So it's a simultaneous problem on both sides. And if there's trust in the relationship between businesses, stars, and the city and the community, which I think is ratcheting up to an all-time high, and we can all meet on those levels and say, look, we're going to run these services, but you need to be open. Because if we're running the service and no one's open, it's going to kill the service.
Absolutely.
And if you guys are open and there's no service, it's going to kill your business.
There you go.
So we need to make sure that we're working in lockstep with each other to reach that goal. We want every Saginaw family who uses the system normally for their everyday life to benefit from this time. So that's why we're not just doing just cup transportation.
Right.
It's the entire fixed route system.
When does the new hours kick in? When do the new hours kick in?
Friday.
On this coming Friday.
The first day of the cup, this coming Friday. And that's the first game. So we'll see those buses stay open until 11 p.m. So, hey, if you're planning on getting around a little later that night, now you can, and you can use the bus, and you don't even have to pay the fare.
Wow, that's good. I want you to be, just for a couple of minutes here before we take our first commercial break, which our producer is going to push back so we can have this question in. As you look at where we're going, and I said, once again, this is an audition for a greater opportunity.
It sure is.
Let's be visionary. When you think about stars, how do you see it expanding and growing into this regional space?
First, we got to get our core operations in order, and that means more frequent routes in the city. We only got like 60-minute routes. That is not good enough for a city. You need 30-minute or more frequent service on these lines. So that's step one.
Okay.
Step two, you need some connectivity to other places. And mainly you look at first employment and education and you go from there. Where are the jobs? Where do people need to go for jobs or come from to get jobs in Saginaw?
Speaking of which, I was able to work with the situation, and finally, I know you guys have been playing cat and mouse with Hemlock Semiconductor. Been finally able to kind of cement a route for folks who are out there that are listening, that work with Hemlock Semiconductor. And I'm telling you, it's Deerville, it's Deerland, Deer Country out there, especially in the wintertime.
You don't want to drive your car.
If they don't want to drive, how can they take the bus?
That's easy. Hemlock has a plan set up with their employees for a minimal fee that they pay in there. You walk on the bus, you show your employee ID, you ride for free. And I'm not sure exactly the rate. I want to say it's like $15 every pay period.
Okay.
But don't quote me on that. I'm not Hemlock. I can't speak for them. But we set that up. They subsidize the cost of the route, so that does not cost city taxpayers money. That's a very important part of doing that, and it's part of my business philosophy with Stars and doing these types of work.
So that's going west, but you also go east with
out to the thumb.
Out to the thumb.
Michigan, 60 miles out. There's steel plants out there, and we're transporting anywhere from 60 to 100 people per day across 3 shifts. And we've been running that line for 6 or 7 years now.
Yeah,
it is a poster child of public-private partnership. That route is fully subsidized by the employees and the steel mills. Again, not paid for by taxpayer dollars.
Wow, I think that's great. In addition to those, you guys have been. I know that you guys have been clutch when it's been mobilizing groups of people that I need to have done. What other service do you have other than the regular Stars buses? And then we have these transits that are in partnership with corporations. What other services do you all have? I know that you have the door-to-door service for those who are not able to get out. Are there other services that maybe we don't know about that the community could utilize?
We do have a service called Rides to Wellness. It's
okay.
kind of, I'd call it still in kind of a quasi-pilot stage.
Okay.
We've been running it for 4 or 5 years now. It's a very successful program. We copied it from MTA Flint. We love plagiarism in transit land. When we see somebody with a program that works,
we'll take it.
Yep, you run it. And how that works is, what we were finding is we did a lot of trips for DHHS and these types of social organizations, but on Stars Lift, the fare is only $2. That ride costs us more than $2.
Right.
And so the model was messed up. And when I approached this and looked at it, we started saying we got to work out a different plan for this. These social service organizations receive funding for transportation, and they're mandated by law to pay for it. But if we're offering a $2 fare, of course they're only going to pay the $2.
Right.
So we changed Lyft and said, look, Lyft can only be scheduled by a person.
Right.
A person is a senior citizen.
Right.
A person is a disabled resident.
Yeah.
An organization is not.
Right.
So when they have those, we created Rides to Wellness, and we've been working with these partners where they will pay closer to the actual cost of the trip out of their own funding. And again, the city taxpayers aren't footing the bill for services provided by another state agency.
Okay.
And that's what was happening. So we kind of closed that hole. So the service that comes out of it is Rides to Wellness. What that is eventually going to be is the best I can describe it would be a public transit version of Uber or Lyft.
Okay.
Like the LY Lyft, those guys that copied us.
All right.
With our
LYFT, yeah.
The other Lyft guys.
I want to make sure that as we get together, and I want to get on the other side of this Memorial Cup, I want you to come back, Glenn, because I want to talk really more about our future. Because I know we sat and we've been very optimistic about a lot of things that we think can happen in the city of Saginaw. And I don't think it's just optimism. I think there are things that we can do if we collaborate. I think you have a big plan as we were talking, and I don't know how far you are into unveiling that plan, but I want to have that conversation with our community and really publicize so that people can understand how you really are committed to bringing sustainability to this downtown corridor and making sure that people can thrive there and grow there and bringing in opportunities for employment and engagement. And so I really want to have that conversation. We're going to take our break. I want to thank you for being here today. We're going to bring you back another time, but there's another group that's looking to come in. So we're going to take this commercial break. Glenn, thank you so very much.
Thank you so much for
We promise to come back so that we can have that a future conversation about what's getting ready to happen.
As many times as you like, as long as you'll have me. And after about 2 or 3 times, I don't know, you might not want me anymore. But we'll see.
No, I appreciate you. Thank you so much. This is Glenn Steffens from Saginaw Stars. We're going to take a commercial break. We'll be right back. Thank you.
You're listening to Straight Talk with Kareem Bowen on KISS 107.1.
Need a reboot mid-Michigan? Ryan Wasik here from Bell Wasik GMC Buick, your only local Buick dealer and home of the lifetime warranty. Spring has sprung, so let's have some fun. This month, I'll help you reboot your old ride and save up to $3,000 on a nicer, newer car based on the price of the car you pick. It's out with the old and in with the new. So if your old ride's a hunk of junk, don't let it leave you in a funk. Bring it to me, and I'll help you shut it down. Because there's never been a better time to reboot your old ride and save up to $3,000 on a car you love. Worried about your credit? Don't get your wires crossed. My For the People credit approval process is like a reset button. We only work with the banks and lenders who want to say yes to you. So this spring, reboot your old ride, and you could save up to $3,000 on a nicer, newer car based on the price of the car you pick. But hurry, a deal this good will shut down fast. I'm Ryan Wasik, and I'm your dealer for the people. See all my rides at RyanApproved.com. That's RyanApproved.com.
Credit requires bank approval. Negative equity may be refinanced. Vehicle purchase price determines actual discount. Offer absolutely ends May 31st, 2024.
What's keeping you from learning the language you've always wanted to speak?
Too hard.
Takes too long.
Not with Babbel. Babbel's interactive lessons, podcasts, games, and more make learning fun.
Fun isn't hard.
Right. And in 10 minutes a day, Babbel's bite-sized lessons are designed to get you having real conversations in as little as 3 weeks.
That's not long.
It's not hard.
It's perfect.
It starts here. Go to Babbel.com to try for free. That's BABBEL.com. Babbel.com.
Today, we are talking to the embittered ghost of America's least known president, Millard Fillmore.
Humbug.
About a historic new instant games series from the Michigan Lottery. 4 tickets that feature portraits of Jefferson, Lincoln, Hamilton, and Jackson.
Wait, but no Fillmore?
Yeah, but there are top prizes up to $2 million and $181 million in total prizes. Gonna play, Millard?
I vote yes.
Instant games, instant fun for everyone.
Like Jefferson, Lincoln, Hamilton, Jackson, and me.
Knowing your limits is always the best bet.
This is the KISS community page where you can find out about all of the great things that are happening in Saginaw, Bay City, and Midland. The Memorial Cup is coming May 24th through June the 2nd with an ice cream social being presented by Michigan Sugar. Sunday, May 26th from 12 to 1 at the Jolt Event Park. Keys of Hope presents Tween Time, Navigating Your Period, Saturday, June the 1st from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the SVRC Ballroom, located at 203 South Washington Avenue in Saginaw. Join in for an educational playdate luncheon about menstrual health, nutrition, and period positivity, hosted by Anisha and Sanaya Stanley. It's the 2024 Heart of the City Community Awards Banquet, happening on June the 6th from 6 to 9 at the Horizons Conference Center. Join in for an eventful evening celebrating community and collaboration. The annual Heart of the City fundraising banquet was established in 2017 to pay tribute to past, present, and future community members and organizations that are committed to service and volunteerism in the Great Lakes Bay community. This year, the Michigan Banner will celebrate their 22nd anniversary, and the Latino Banner will celebrate 12 years of anniversary. The Culture for Service Luncheon, June the 8th from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the Horizons Conference Center. The luncheon will be hosted by Zeta Gamma Sigma chapter of Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated. This year's theme is celebrating service in the Great Lakes Bay region. They will recognize John Pugh as the Man of the Year for his service in the region and will be presenting scholarships to local high school students. Community organizers, please submit your events at least 2 weeks in advance to kisswtlz.com.
Hey, it's Steve Harvey, y'all. Here's what happened on the Steve Harvey Morning Show.
Who on this show comes to work late the most?
Tommy.
No, no hesitation.
You know what I'm not doing. I'm not playing this
missing.
Whatever this is today.
I'm talking about late, missing, no call, don't know where he at.
What is I'm gonna call when I call? What I'm supposed to say to you?
I don't know.
That I ain't there.
I don't know.
That I ain't there.
Well, we already know that.
Exactly. So why call?
It's the expected absences that throw us the most. Kiss 107.1, simply the best R&B.
It's Straight Talk with Kareem Bowen on Kiss 107.1.
This is Kareem. We're back with more Straight Talk. If you notice, the landscape has changed just a little bit. I'm in the studio today with some of my brothers from Help. We are here, and we're here to begin to share with you what we think is probably one of the most important things that we have scheduled for the course of the summer, other than getting out there in the streets, talking with people, our summer strolls that we'll be doing and coming up very, very soon. And so I want to make sure that we please turn your radios and speakers down, please. I want to make sure that you guys know what's happening. We have something going on called BMS. It is the Black Male Summit. And the purpose of the Black Male Summit is to really be able to address all of the issues that are pertinent to the village, the men that are a part of the village in our community. And I am excited to be with these brothers. We are beginning this conversation, but we have been connecting with folks to make sure this happens. Brothers, let's talk a little bit about the BMS. And Terry, I need you to come a little bit closer just so that you don't sound like you're in an echo in a hallway down the street 4 miles. These are your brothers. We love you. All right. So I don't think it's going to be a big deal. Let's talk a little bit about the BMS. And Terry, I'm going to lead in with you because I know you feel like this is very important that we do this. Let's talk about.
Well, it's important for a lot of reasons. It's important because we engaging. I got to move up. It's important because we engaging our Black men in the community, and it's going to be a great look to have all of us in the same spot. I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be one of the biggest events of the summer months, and I think it's one of those things that's necessary to allow us the city to see and people to see that we can work unified as a Black community, and that's what's important.
So what we want to say to you, and I hope that everyone understands this, is that as we talk about BMS, the Black Male Summit, this is for every single individual who is a part of the village. And somebody said, can white people come? If they want to, but understand that the focus of this summit is for Black men. Anybody can come. We know that we have supporters. There are allies that we have out there, and all of you are welcome. But we need to have a conversation. You know, my grandmother used to always say, you don't air out all your dirty laundry in front of public, but you have conversations with the family. And so this is a village conversation. Antonio, as you begin to take a look at what it is that we're getting ready to lock into, what is it that is most important to you as we have this discussion with our Black men?
Well, what's been the more I've been getting into the substance use disorder field, it's like I've been seeing a lot of our men, and we losing a lot of our men to overdosing and stuff like that. So I did QRT, as I told you the other day. That's quick response training, and we went out, and within the last 2 weeks we had like 8 overdoses, 3 of them fatal. That means that 3 of them are not here no more. We had to talk to family members.
Let's talk real quick, because I think that this is a part of the conversation, right? When I was growing up as a kid, they always said that when we were kids, at first you drink alcohol, and then when you start marijuana was a gateway drug. How often? Because now this is what's crazy, is that we see a lot of people. I mean, it's everywhere. It's legal, so you can have it, and everybody's smoking it. I mean, white, Black, lawyers, doctors, anybody, whoever it is, people are smoking. And that the reason why it passed was because it was more than just us that wanted it to pass. Because even though we may be the poster child for folks who smoke blunts and get high, we are not the only ones. And the reason why it passed overwhelmingly, because there's a whole bunch of doctors, lawyers, and attorneys who, when they get home, if they get home, I mean, they smoking and getting high. Let's be real about that. Yeah. However, when we look at what's taking place in our community and the moving from that, which we call a gateway drug, to then lacing your weed with whatever, and then beginning to want whatever you laced it with more than the weed. Let's talk about how problematic they are in the village.
So, back in the day, they used to lace it. They used to lace the joint with the crack, and they'd call that like a 51 or whatever back in the day. And some people used to get hooked. You know what I'm talking about. Old school. That's old school. But now it's way more different. It's dangerous. So we had a guy that overdosed on fentanyl being laced in his weed. and his weed. And people don't think that people doing that. You can look it up. It happened. I don't know if it was in Wisconsin, but it happened a couple years ago. And it's like, we got to let our kids know that people around here putting that stuff in everything. We had a person in Saginaw got laced with fentanyl in a drink.
Wow.
You know,
so it's out there.
It's out there.
So we got to have this conversation with our brothers, letting them know that this kind of thing is out there. Larry, when you think about your experiences and you think about what the conversations will be like for this Black Male Summit, looking at where you came from and the experiences you've had, why is this an important conversation?
Well, I feel it's important because we need some togetherness. There's a lot of people and a lot of division out here. I'm talking about from all walks of life, from the top, from the pastors all the way down to the people in the street.
Why y'all always say from the pastors?
because
I'm a pastor. Why y'all be talking about the pastors? I got you.
You know what I mean?
Go ahead.
And even some pastors, everybody doing their own thing.
Right.
We need to come together because it's a public health crisis.
That's right.
I'm talking about, man, from the top to the bottom, man.
That's right.
From these young guys in the streets all the way up to the top.
Right.
And we need to get together, man, and try to come up with some solutions, to really genuinely come together and try to help, man.
So this is not about blaming or pointing the finger at anybody. This is generally a conversation about what can we do as the men in the village to right and to rebuild and repair the walls of what's happening in the village. And I like what you said. We got to come with some solutions. So as we look at this, it's not just about drugs. What are the things that are important to the village that we're going to have in this conversation? We're going to talk about gun violence that's happening in our community. We're going to put a call to action for men, making it normalized to be active in the lives of their kids in the community. Amen. We want some people from the friend of the court to come up and show up for our brothers who are struggling, trying to both work and take care of child support. Most people don't realize that most men end up in arrearages when the child is born, a lot of the times. Because when that child is born, if that mother's getting any kind of aid, you get in a big old bam. You get this big lump sum that puts you in arrearage immediately. And then you've got to work your way out of that situation. Terry, when you look at what you would consider, and you're on a main quarter with your building, shout out to you because everyone recognizes the work that you're doing, including the president of the United States, who said, hey, let me go by and check out Terry's auto. And Terry, I was like, poof, not this week. We out of town. So they went to other businesses. But the fact that you're making that kind of impact as an entrepreneur and a business owner in the community, you get people that come through your business every day. What are the things that you think the village needs in order for us to really repair the breach, put out the fires, and to begin to rebuild?
I'll start with one thing. When we did the expungement, it's a young man that came out. He talked to myself and Antonio, and I believe it was Taurus.
Yep.
And he was hurt that he showed us his list. He took his phone and showed myself and Antonio all the jobs that he tried to get.
Yep.
All the applications that he put in. And he told us that he had one job that let him work until they found out about his record.
Happens all the time.
This is my problem. How do you pay your debt to society one time and then have to pay it again? It shouldn't be that way. And because of where I am in the city, I'm surrounded by a lot of people that's gone that way before. And they'll sit and talk to me about it because I guess they gauge what I do at this point to somebody that they can come in and talk to. And the sad thing about it, as much as I would like to say what I can do, I don't know what to do. Right.
And so advocacy is a very important part.
That's important to me.
So I need y'all to understand something. So as we talk about this Black Male Summit, it is not help doing this. It would not be even effective if it were just help.
Right, exactly.
But we are reaching out to the court system. We got the partnership with Representative O'Neill's office. We're working with attorneys to get this in. The educational, this conversation started with an education a conversation about education and supporting the educational system with Dr. Roberts. So we have a Saginaw Public Educational System that's on board. We have companies that are saying, hey, we want to bring tables and job applications. Absolutely. Because if employment is an issue, and we've been talking to some manufacturing companies, as well as some of these big the big auto companies, like what can you do? What are the things that you can change in your employment strategy so that once a person has paid their debt to society, they're not paying that debt for the rest of their lives? And community, this is something I want to say to y'all real quick. We've got to get over stigmatizing our own people in the village.
That's right.
Forever.
That's right.
Okay, we will do something and we label people based upon the thing or their infraction or where they failed or what they did. At what point, think about it being your child. At what point do you think a person who has paid their debt to society should be able to rebrand themselves? And so it becomes a very important conversation. Go ahead, Brother Antonio.
Well, because real quick, to piggyback off what you just said about what Big Brother T was talking about, that young man, that happened when he was a teenager. Right. He was a juvenile, but they charged him as an adult. He hadn't caught any more cases since then. He's like 30 now, but they won't expunge his record. But what you're saying is true, because it's like what he said is, I might as well go back out here and get back on my back.
Do what I got to do to get it done.
But we told him, no, man, stick with us. Come to the next month to the BMS, to the Black Male Summit. We're gonna make sure we put you in front of some people. And I did reach out and talk to Rep O'Neill, and he told me that he wanted to speak to that young man.
Yeah, so we got people advocating for them. Go ahead.
But see, if you really want to talk about the village taking care of each other, we have enough entrepreneurs, Black entrepreneurs, to give these people a shot too, if they are able to do so. Because I think if the hires that be, the powers that be rather, won't do it, we need to do it for our own.
Absolutely.
Well, you know what? Hey, oftentimes the infraction happens in the village, so rehabilitative actions have to also happen in the village. So that means that we give them an opportunity so that they can build themselves up, that they can then see themselves differently, and so that you can see themselves differently. People don't understand that when you've been labeled, in your mind, even though you may act differently on the outside, that label is etched in your brain, probably greater than even what the community does. And the pain and the guilt that you carry as an individual is much worse than what the community can do. And so if we want our people to be contributors back to the community, we got to start changing this. Right. This is a mental health. I'm telling you, when you go and you get locked up and you come back, that's a code red. It's a mental health crisis. Yeah. Because you're fighting against your vision and what you were thinking and how people are going to receive you, as well as the looks and stares that the community also gives. So we're going to do something different. Go ahead. Go ahead. No, I'm good.
But you know, if you look at the help group,
yeah,
the mentors, the 50 some odd mentors, I know it's just seems like it's just us showing up all the time, but we are poster child of what was wrong used to be.
What does that mean? Be clear. Explain it. Well, use layman terms.
There's a lot of people in the help that's mentors now that went to prison, that's done a whole lot of things that they're not happy with at this point. But if you to see them now, you would never know that they've been through that, because they had people to reach and grab them and say, hey, it don't have to be that way. But they had a second chance.
Yeah.
They had a second chance. So we have poster child. We have poster childs of people.
You know, I saw Jimmy Green, and I'm sure hopefully he'll see this because he often keys into these conversations. I saw him take a picture with a young woman. I don't remember her name at the time. And he was talking about, thank God for second chance. She was a young white woman in the community, and she was given a second chance. And he was talking about how the judges, Judge Meter was one of the individuals, and named off the defender's office, the prosecutors, everybody who worked together to give her a second chance. Now, all we saying is that we would like that same opportunity. Oftentimes, second chances don't come to people who get a little bit darker shade in the sun than most folk. And so we need to give an opportunity, especially, this is one of the reasons why we need it, because a lot of the things that were once illegal are no longer illegal, Some of the things and the laws that were created was supposed to be the war on drugs, but it really became a war on the black man. So I think that there has to be some leniency and some looking into those things. You can't just say, oh, wow, my bad, and keep on going. Joe Biden, 1994 crime bill. But we've got to have these real conversations about what can we do to really remedy and undo some of the damage that has been done. When we look at our communities didn't get crack ridden by ourselves. How many planes we got flying stuff over here? Come on, all you got to do is go watch Snowfall. The first 3 seasons will tell you the real deal. The government planted it here.
It's the truth.
And it was for wars that they could fund in other places. But the fact of the matter is they lost control of it. And so it became something that we had to deal with because it was our men who were going to prison. It was our family members who were being addicted. It was our children who were being abused and molested and as a part of that drug game. So we need to not only coming together, but we need to demand that certain things are changed. And so that means that we have to have folks who can change those laws in the room. And we certainly intend to do so. So the Black Male Summit, how do you get involved? And I'm going to come back to you, Brother Larry, just 1 second. We want you to go to helpcvi.com. Help, HELPCVI. That's Community Violence Intervention. .com, helpcvi.com, and when you get on there you'll see BMF. Click BMF, it'll give you an overview. I'm sorry, BMS, Black Mafia Family.
We ain't that no more.
We're not that. This is conversion. So you'll see BMS on there. I'm saying it because I haven't seen a new episode. I don't know if they're on pause or hiatus or whatever, but you'll see BMS on there. You go there, check it out, click on it. You can learn more about what we're doing. There's opportunities for you to support financially. You can give online. You can catch one of the brothers, or just shoot us an email at helpsaginaw@gmail.com. Go to our website, helpcvi.com. Check out what it is that we're doing. We need the support of our community. We need every single brother, judge, attorney, felon, convicted, teacher,
mental health workers,
trainers. We've been working with trainers. I talked with Ken Frierson. He has agreed to come over because representation matters. He is the executive director over at WNEM. I don't know if y'all noticed, but there is a lot of color happening on TV5 when you turn in, because representation matters. If I can see it, I can be it. So we're attacking these issues. We can talk about the pillars, the 7 pillars that we have to engage, and we're going to talk about all those things that's so very important. Larry, I want you to share with them, why should they get involved and why should they be a part of the BMS?
Because this is going to be historic. It's going to be epic. It's something that's needed. You don't want to miss it. I implore and challenge everybody to come out and be a part of this. All Black men, you don't want to miss it because, like I said, it's going to be historical. We need everybody to come because this is important. Very important.
It's going to be FUBU, even though everybody rocking FUBU. For us, by us.
And put all of the egos aside.
Amen.
All of the egos.
Good, let's put out a challenge to put all the egos aside. Please. And all Black men that's capable and able and willing to show up and stand in the gap for our youth, that care anything about our people that's lacking, that's newly home from prison, wherever they're coming from, people that need opportunity. Everybody, we need to come together for this.
In addition to that, you have a lot of people that's watching what we're doing already, that's saying they want to be a part of what we're doing. A shout out to a couple people. Reg Baldwin, for
absolutely,
had to be a part of this. Terrence Miles from GFL,
absolutely,
they want to be a part of this. The lady from Melody from
Molina Healthcare,
she's donating her time and services and a monetary gift.
Yes.
These are things that people need to see and see publicly, physically, to tangibly touch it, to understand the movement is here, the movement is now, and we need each other too.
So that once again is helpcvi.com. Go there, BMS, Black Male Summit. We're going to be talking about this and bringing special guests in every single week to push this home. We need you.
Mention Tuesday.
And on Tuesday at 7 o'clock, we will be having a real conversation We're going to really drive home the reasons for the Black Male Summit. We're going to talk about what that means, how you can get involved, having some key stakeholders from the community involved in that conversation. You do not want to miss it. It will be a social media live event. We'll be on Facebook and other social media platforms. Tune in Tuesday at 7 p.m. We got to go. An hour goes by so fast, but we wanted to throw this out here. Come back next week. We're getting ready to get deep into this thing. It is necessary. It is important. It is vital, and it's going down. This is Kareem from Straight Talk. Tuning off. Y'all bless. Be blessed. God bless you. Grace and peace.
June 19th. Save the date. June 19th.
You're listening to Straight Talk